They call me America's Fat Loss Coach, and I've been doing this since 1995. I wrote 3 books on the topic and quite a few recipe books and programs and consulted companies and all of that. And the only reason why I'm opening and sharing that information is because I'm meeting more and more people that are meeting me for the first time. And what I'm going to share with you is maybe a little controversial, right? A lot of people just may be new to you because I'm going to talk about the glycemic index. And the reason why I'm going to talk about the glycemic index is because I keep meeting professionals or people in the space of weight loss and wellness and health related products, and they are always bringing up the glycemic index. It comes up a lot of different ways. Now, years ago, when I had a very successful infomercial, I would refer to the glycemic profile. And that was a phrase that we had created because the glycemic profile is looking at the individual's blood glucose levels. Now, as I get ready to break this down, okay, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to change up the game a little bit. Hey, what's up there, Teresa? Good. I'm glad you caught this because I hear this all the time. I hear it from doctors. I hear it from other nutritionists and dietitians. I hear it from health advocates. And it just blows my mind. It's kind of like when I hear people talk about wellness. And then at one point in the conversation about wellness, I'll say, well, who coined that phrase? Like, who came up with that word wellness? And the reason why I ask that sometimes, not all the time, not that I want to throw people under the bus, but I bring it up because most people have absolutely no idea. They don't know anything about Dr. Halbert Dunn. They've never even heard the name. And I grew up with a belief and understanding, a principle that continues to be true today, that when you want to know something, if the opportunity is there to go to the creator, to go to the source, to go to ground zero, then you go, right? So Dr. Halbert Dunn is the guy who coined that name, and it's been changed a lot and is used totally different. But wellness literally means, in his words, is an integrated method of functioning, which is oriented toward optimizing the potential of which an individual is capable of performing. Now, you have to break that down, and I'm not going to do it in this live, but I'm sharing that as a preface to make a point. And the point is, don't just assume what people say is real, because you will watch an infomercial or you'll watch a commercial and they'll say, well, the glycemic index or the glycemic load or the glycemic this, and it's low glycemic. If you look at all the marketing, everything is sold as like low glycemic, low glycemic, low glycemic. And what the hell does all that mean? Nothing. Okay. So let me take you to school for a second in a loving, graceful way. Okay. Now, for those of you who are catching me for the first time, please subscribe, please like, please comment. If you got questions, I would love to answer, because I only share because I care. That's the only reason why I share, because I want you to know what I know. It's like I was talking to one of my clients today who I'm working with in our over 40 program. And let me just say, shout out to all of you who I'm working with. If you're catching this, I am so honored to be working with you and to be knocking down walls and opening up doors of freedom and opportunity where I know for the rest of your life, you're going to have enhanced quality. We're going to get this weight off and you're going to be at your healthiest. So I'm happy to be an asset to you. Okay. And if anyone's interested in that, then email us and you can learn more about it. Okay. So let's dig deep into it. Let's go into it. So the glycemic index, which you hear a lot about, was created in Canada. And I love the idea of how it was created, right? It was created with the thought that we want the average diabetic or pre-diabetic to have an idea or understanding on how certain foods may impact their body. So what they did is they went and they collected information on every carbohydrate. Okay, so first thing to know, carbohydrates include everything from broccoli. Yes, broccoli is a carbohydrate. Tomatoes. If it comes from a plant, if the sun is fueling it, it's a carbohydrate. Now, if it had a face and walked around and crawled, okay, it's probably a protein source. But a carbohydrate is, all of that, to include pasta, which most people get that, bread, pizza, Okay, so we get an idea. So what they did is they set the guidelines around 50 grams of carbs. So when they looked at a baseline, they looked at pure sugar, which is glucose, and they took 50 grams of pure sugar and they had a person consume it, quite a few people. And then they monitored how fast, when they consumed that glucose, it broke down and became sugar in the blood. And since glucose is pure sugar, and we're looking at carbohydrates and we're looking at the impact on how it's going to affect diabetics, let's give glucose the number 100. Now, are there certain carbohydrates that impact higher than 100? Yes. But glucose, for the most part, is our baseline. So then they did a comparison of 50 grams of carbs and all the different carbs. So when it was the white potato, it was 50 grams of carbs in the white potato. And that number ended up being like 95. So most people would go, oh, don't eat those white potatoes. They're high in sugar because of the glycemic index. And no one questions it. They just go, yeah, I'm not going to eat white potatoes. Okay. And then they say, well, I'm going to go with something a little bit better, lower on the glycemic index. So I'm going to go with a yam or a sweet potato, which it is. Okay. Now, if a white potato is 95 and glucose, pure sugar, is 100, I get it. If I only knew that, then I would 100% avoid a white potato. We're not there yet. Okay. Okay. I'm almost there. I'm not going to keep you here forever, I promise. But I believe we understand, right? So when they looked at bread, they looked at 50 grams of bread. When they looked at a banana, they looked at 50 grams of carbs in a banana. Now, that would be more than one banana, right? Because the average banana is going to have somewhere between 30, 35 grams of carbs in one banana. Same as an apple. So that means it was probably like an apple and a half, and that was like maybe a banana and a quarter. And for this reason, they realized later on that we need to go on portion size. And that's why the glycemic load was created. We're not going to talk about the glycemic load today. We're going to talk about the glycemic index so there's clarity. And I hope that when I meet someone who's selling products and they represent companies, et cetera, they don't try to share with me how everything that they preach and everything that they recommend and how they eat is low glycemic. It means absolutely nothing again. Okay, so we're looking at 50 grams. Now, if I ate 50 grams of carbohydrates in the form of carrots, we're looking at about a pound of carrots. So another thing you want to realize is that the glycemic index is not speaking specifically to how we eat. It's only looking at a single food by itself and 50 grams of carbs in that single food. And then they compare it to how fast when you eat it, it breaks down and becomes sugar in the blood, the same as glucose, and it gets a number. We got that. So the white potato is given the number 95. Now, potato chips, let's say Lay's potato chips, they're made from a potato. You with me? They're packaged, so there's way more of a process to creating potato chips. Well, when you take 50 grams of carbs in the form of potato chips, the numbers that's given on the index is 55. So carbohydrate for carbohydrate, gram for gram, potato chips that are processed in comparison to what God created, and you can just dig it up right in the dirt, the potato chips are better on your blood sugar than a whole food potato. That does not make any sense to me. That does not make any sense. But it does when you understand why. See, it's all based on a single food. It's not based on what you eat with that food. So potato chips have fat or oil woven inside of the chip. It is the fat in the chip that slows down how fast the carb, the potato, becomes sugar in the blood. Now, think about that. Because number one, if I were to add butter to my potato, I would now get the glycemic impact of the potato chip, which is better. Oh, and did I say, what if you ate steak or chicken or turkey or tofu with the potato? The protein, because when you eat, it's like a washing machine. When it's in there and it's all breaking down. Well, the protein is going to slow down how fast that potato becomes sugar in the blood. Oh, and I almost forgot. The fiber in that broccoli that I eat as part of that meal is going to slow down how fast that potato becomes sugar in the blood. So it's what you eat with the food. So we're big on showing you and teaching people how to combine foods so they don't experience a huge spike in their blood sugar. And we encourage people to eat frequently enough so that their blood sugar levels don't drop too low. And depending on who you are, because as I work with this group of women over the age of 40, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, we make some changes there, okay, in order for them to get the outcome, the results that they want. Now, I'm going to go a little deeper because I'm feeling good about it. I'm giving away the information. I want you to get this, okay? So it's not about the glycemic index. It's not. It's not about eating foods that are low glycemic. It's not. That means nothing. That's a diet mentality. It puts you in a position where you're like most people out there preaching diets. And then they look for food low, 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 and not thinking about how they would eat it. And they're not asking any questions, right? Because depending on the state of where the potato is also dictates how fast it becomes sugar in the blood. So what does Robert mean by that? Me. Okay, third person. Okay, always wanted to do that. What does he mean by that? Well, if a potato is very ripe, it's going to convert to sugar faster than if a potato was freshly picked. If you were to like a banana is the perfect example. Okay, a banana is a perfect example. Why? Well, according to the glycemic index, a banana is given the number 70. So it's like in the mid range, right? And so you have a lot of people say, oh, bananas are high in sugar. Again, misinformation, not true, not cool. What banana are we talking about? Because when a banana has more spots on it compared to being green, when it's close to green or freshly picked, it's going to have resistant starch in it, more starch, and starch will convert to sugar in the blood slower than when you see those brown spots, because that means it's highest in sugar compared to starch. Now, ultimately, they all become sugar in the blood, but they become sugar in the blood at a different rate. So if I was talking to the creators of the glycemic index, I would say, which banana did you test that gets the score of 50 or 55 or 70 or 75, whatever the number is, right? And I said 70, so let's say 70. Because bananas, man, there's a lot of varieties of bananas. Bananas can be fried, they can be baked, they can be broiled. The way they're cooked, the age of the banana, all plays a huge role in how fast that banana will convert to sugar in the blood. And if you ate a little bit peanut butter with that banana, all of that's going to play a role in how fast it becomes sugar in the blood. Now, if you are aware of the AMA, American Medical Association, they know that the glycemic index is not science. Now, are there things we can draw from the Yes. And I like it from that standpoint. It's kind of like, it's good because it put me in a position as I was doing my work and research and putting together our science on how to enjoy fat burning meals. The glycemic index was helpful, but it's not something that I would put any credibility on at all. Even the glycemic load. I am always looking at, how do you eat the food? I haven't seen many people just grab a potato, and I'm sure there's some, but just grab a potato and eat it. And that's the meal. They usually add something to it. If I added beans or chili to the potato, the beans and the chili is going to slow down how fast that potato becomes sugar in the blood. Is this making sense? So I'm going to throw it out there for questions or pushback. If you don't agree, put it in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I've done many talks on this. I know it like the back of my hand. So I always welcome people to challenge it. But at the end of the day, I just hope you realize that there's very little science in this because it's different. And then when people consume the foods, if you go and you read the literature behind the glycemic index, 2 out of 10 had a different impact compared to the others. So it's not 100%. And from what I understand, that's science when it's 100%. So yes, the world is caught up in the glycemic index. Everybody talks about the glycemic index. I get it, but it's not accurate information. It's kind of like the people who look at a tomato and they call it a vegetable when we all know it's a fruit. It's like we become okay with just being okay with something that's not true. So, and I hate to throw someone under the bus, but if I was at a seminar and someone was just harping on the glycemic index, I have a hard time sitting there being quiet. I'm gonna have to raise my hand up and we're gonna have to go to school. Because if I don't, then it kind of goes with the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, I might as well be dead. I might as well be out of the business because I'm not okay with them just saying something that's not true. And in my past, as I've done work, and when I say something and it wasn't true and someone called me on it and I got corrected, and I'm happy because I'm better off. No, I want to know the truth. I would rather share the truth with you and help you than to just be assuming and guessing. So yes, I'm good with the glycemic index, but I don't like how people talk about it. They're not accurate. Okay, so let me see. So Teresa has a question. Hey, what's up there, Judy? Years back, I was pregnant. She was pregnant, not me, and had to take that. She got tested for diabetes. Wasn't told I needed to fast. I ate some carrots with my lunch. Failed the test. I was shocked. Doctor told me it may have been the carrots that did it. Okay, could have been, but I don't want to be around maybe, right? So I wouldn't go by that. That really means nothing. I would actually check yourself now and go from now, because obviously you live a really, healthy life. Everything I know about you, you're all about health. So I would start from scratch and go from there. Cheryl, what's going on, Cheryl? She says, good morning, Robert. Australia. I love Australia. She says, is the 456 program available in Australia? Absolutely. For years, I relied on DVDs and books from Food Lovers. All right, Cheryl. You know what? When Food Lovers went out, we kicked serious butt over in Australia. That's why I must get to Australia. I mean, I thought I had a couple of coaches and they disappeared on me. They were in Australia. I thought I had a couple contacts. I was asked to come out to Australia. And I'm all about it. Now I have ways where I can get to Australia and do some things. But it would be nice to connect with some people and start getting some success stories in Australia. So yes. So Cheryl, send me an email and I will connect you with how you can get involved. 100%. I look forward to working with you, Cheryl. I really do. Let's see here. Anyway, hey, Teresa, by the way, I caught the live of your husband yesterday. I love his energy. I love how everything he talked about was on point. And that's coming from a guy who's in the space of branding and marketing and business. And he did a great job. So if anyone, I would definitely give you guys an endorsement and say, hey, if you want to do it right, get into YouTube and really grow your business. He did a really good job at helping people. I mean, he gave away a lot of information, really helpful information. It was mind blowing. Okay. Any questions about the glycemic index? Any questions? Judy King, any questions? No questions? You guys don't have any questions? When you go to the store, you're going to see low glycemic. You're going to talk to someone who's on a low carb, low glycemic. Everybody's talking low glycemic. And ask them, say, what is the glycemic index? How did it come about? How does it work? And when you start asking those questions, even the ones who know the answers to what I just said, if you keep asking the questions, it'll take them to a place where they will have to acknowledge that the glycemic index is not all that, because not many people are just eating 50 grams of carbs in an apple. I mean, the average apple, okay? And we're gonna give the glycemic index. We're gonna talk about the glycemic index. The average apple, okay, is around 30 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, that's not much, not at all. Now, remember, when they tested an apple a person had to eat almost 2 apples in order for it to be 50 grams of carbs. And it was 50 grams of carbs. And we're not even talking about the core. We're talking about they had to chop it up, make sure it got up to 50 grams, and then they tested it. And the average person is not eating that many apples when they just sit and eat. And then people who are thinking about their glucose levels, they're probably combining it with something like peanut butter or hummus or, nut butter, cashew butter, in order, because they've been taught that, which is great, because that fat is going to slow down how fast that carb becomes sugar in the blood. So, and you know what, why is on my mind, because when you look at the glycemic index of honey, you're not consuming 50 grams of honey. If you are, you look like Winnie the Pooh, because you're not consuming that much honey. I mean, I take a tablespoon of honey and I put it in my coffee because I want the benefits of the honey, right? Well, I've had people avoid honey because someone told them it was not low on the glycemic index. So people are avoiding foods, assuming that it's not going to be good on their blood sugar, but it's not the truth. It's not the truth, man. So if you're pushing the glycemic index, push it with clarity. For years I had people running around eating, whole wheat bread and making claims and claims and claims, stay away from the white bread, whole wheat bread. And I would mention sourdough. Oh, no, not sourdough. Well, sourdough has always been lower on the glycemic index compared to whole wheat. But a lot of people don't talk about that. They say go with whole grains and whole wheat. But in reality, sourdough, not only is it lower on the glycemic index, but we know that it has a whole bunch of benefits on your gut health, on your microbiome. It's packed with resistant starch, and because of the way it's made, it's like a live probiotic. It's like you eat that and it goes well. And I've had people tell me, even people who are like gluten sensitive, say, I don't know, for some reason when I eat sourdough, it doesn't really bother me. Hello, that's why. Okay. Anyway, what's up, Barbara Chris? Stranger Danger. That's my co-host on the show. And it's funny, because I've talked about the glycemic index on our show. I've talked about the glycemic index and posted things, but I was compelled today because I had a conversation with that person and they went on and on. It was like it just drove me absolutely crazy. And I was thinking, this young lady has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. She was pushing it like it was a new creation of sliced bread. She was missing it. She didn't know. And that's a prime example of when you hear me say things like the uninformed, people who don't know, are influenced or led by the misinformed who don't really know, but they believe they know. We must be informed, you guys. We must take control. We must grab the bull by the horns and upgrade our nutrition IQ. Take it to a whole nother level so we're informed. Okay, so the next time somebody brings up the glycemic index, just know that they're not sharing that information based on how you could use that information. Otherwise, they would tell you how you combine it. Add the butter to the potato to lower the glycemic impact. Eat it with some type of protein source if you eat protein. If not, then it could be edamame. It could be tofu. It could be tempeh, which is another very positive pre and probiotic that's going to be good for your health and is on the vegan side. You know what I mean? So anyway, what's up, Dee Dee? Okay, Robert Ferguson is about to get out of here. I like to share because I care. So Judy asks, so the GI is fake news? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way. It is. Now, again, we're happy about it, but like my next live that I do, I'm going to talk about antibiotics. That's why I did that post. And I'm not going to talk about it to have people feel bad. I'm going to talk about it and share with you how you can improve your situation if you have taken antibiotics, because there's pros and cons, right? Antibiotics have saved millions and millions of lives since penicillin was, discovered, and we've used antibiotics. It's saved a lot of lives. But there's a negative impact of it, and we're learning more and more and more about it. And in my next live, I'm going to share. But I will tell you this. If you are a woman over the age of 40 and you have done multiple diets in your life, or you have gained and lost weight in your life, and that would include even when you get pregnant, gain weight, have a baby, even though you bring it down. If you are taking any type of medications, if you feel that a lot of things that you're doing aren't helping you drop the weight, all of those things considered must be addressed. They must be addressed, and we're addressing them. And I'm seeing some amazing like transformations taking place, not just in weight on the outside, but the work we're doing on the inside. I've always believed from a mental standpoint that weight loss is an inside game. It is. It's an inside game. And a lot of that is mindset. But a lot of us are trusting willpower, and we jump in and we count on that instead of education being the key. Because when you're educated and you have clarity, you can't help but have confidence. You can't help but have confidence. And I know there's people who have watched me over the years and have followed me for well over 10 years, 15 years. I'm going back 20 years. They trust me, and they know that maybe I've helped them in the past, but they know that I'm going to shoot straight with them. Total transparency with the goal of helping them live their healthiest and happiest life. That's what it's all about. Even Dee Dee and I go back 10 years. She saw me on the 700 Club. Right, Dee Dee? For the very first time, you're like, who's that handsome young man right there? And then Dr. Cleve slapped you on the side of the head. I'm just kidding. He would never hit you on the side of the head. How can I get around that? I shouldn't have said slap side of the head, but you know what I'm saying. Dr. Cleve is my man. I love that guy. Haven't seen him in a while, but can't wait to see him. Okay, so I believe I did it all. What's up, Lashana? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's time to say goodbye. You know what song I would have playing when I'm leaving? It would be Boys to Men. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Hey. All right. Anyway, too much time on my hand. It's time to get back to work. Yeah, exactly, Dee Dee. Only once. Oh, that's great. All right, you guys. Hey, catch the replay. Share this information. Let's get people informed so that they are not uninformed and they don't fall prey to those who are misinformed. And again, there's no disrespect to the glycemic index. I value it. It's played a big role in helping us get to where we are with the work that we do. But it is not the end all be all. Not even close. There's a lot of holes, a lot of problems with the glycemic index. And that's why the American Medical Association, the National Medical Association, they've never adopted it as science. It's a nice tool. It's great to raise awareness and get people to become mindful of what they're eating. But I'm a huge believer that it would be so nice if they educated people on how to eat. You know what I mean? Like show them a white potato and say, hey, add some butter to this, and it's going to slow down how fast it becomes sugar in your blood. That would be great. Don't just say, oh, yeah, white potatoes are high in sugar. Oh, it's 95. Now everybody, like, you didn't tell me the other part. You didn't tell me the other part. Jeez, you didn't tell me the other part. So now I got to live the rest of my life thinking I can't eat a white potato when all I had to do was eat it with something like a steak or maybe add some butter to it. That's all I had to do. And you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me. That's a lie. In the words of Judy, that's fake news, baby. Fake news. All right, you guys have a good one. And I'll be back. Next one, catch me live. It's going to be on antibiotics. And mind-blowing information I'm going to share with you. Okay, mind-blowing. But I'm also going to share with you a solution because it's not all negative. And like my friend Cisco said years ago, it can't rain forever. The sun is going to shine, and it's about to shine for a whole bunch of people. Okay, God bless.